Kitco News special coverage of Bitcoin 2022 is brought to you by Coin Payments. Crypto payments made easy.
We're back at Bitcoin Miami, and joining us right now is Paul Sztorc. He is a self-proclaimed Bitcoin maximalist and independent Bitcoiner. Welcome to the show, Paul.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for being on Kitco. Paul, I read your bio with great interest. What does it mean, really, to be a Bitcoin maximalist? I've heard that term used a lot. I've spoken to people who claim to be Bitcoin maximalists. Everybody seems to have a little bit of a difference when it comes to their thesis on Bitcoin. What's yours?
Well, I think Bitcoin maximalism is the idea that it's better to focus all of your energy on Bitcoin and not these competing attempts at constructing an internet cryptocurrency. So this thesis has gone through a lot of transformations, but it began a long time ago when people would make, so for example, Litecoin, the effort it took to create Bitcoin from like a blank piece of paper, like what Satoshi Nakamoto was able to achieve,
Right.
that was an enormous amount of effort. And Litecoin kind of just copied and pasted that and changed like one or two things.
Okay.
And then it sort of purported to be this new thing. And that was, of course, probably the beginning of the kind of, I would say, the cultural movement to kind of suppress the competitors.
All right, well, let me...
with money, you only have one. If you go to Japan, you mainly use yen. You don't use US dollars there. In any given place, there's usually only one currency that's formed as money. So that's the maximalist broad strokes.
Okay. Let's go a little bit deeper and maybe clarify for the audience. So I'm just going to give you a series of true and false statements. If it's false, tell me why I'm wrong. So a Bitcoin maximalist thinks that Bitcoin has better potential as an investment than any other altcoin.
Yeah, I think that's true.
That's true.
Also what most Bitcoin maximalists would say is true.
BTC, Bitcoin, is the only crypto that has the potential to be a store of value.
I think most Bitcoin maximalists would say that it's true, and I think I would also say it's true, but nothing is 100% certain, but yeah, I think that's basically true. Yes.
All right, and finally, Bitcoin is the only coin with the potential to be a widely adopted currency.
Yeah, I think that's also true.
So you don't see Ethereum, Solana, anything else potentially taking up the mantle?
Well, I'm a proponent of this idea called the sidechain, which is this idea where you have a second piece of software that is basically emulating Ethereum, whatever. It's like bit Ethereum.
Right.
And it does everything Ethereum can do, and you take coins from Bitcoin Core, where there's already these 21 million coins with 19 million coins, and you move your coins over into the Ethereum world.
Okay.
And you can do whatever you like over there. And then that way you replace all of the technical features of the rival piece of software. So you get all the different pieces of software you like, Solana, Ethereum, whatever.
Right.
And you can do whatever, any idea you like, a good or bad, you copy. The sidechain is an altcoin without its own coin. Instead, it uses the 21 million Bitcoin.
Let me just posit a counter argument, not necessarily my own view, and feel free to challenge me on this. So when you're talking about the utility of Bitcoin as a peer-to-peer form of payment, some would argue that's failed because there's other coins that are better as a peer-to-peer system. When you're talking about Bitcoin as a form of payment, there's other coins, payment coins, that are better in terms of their transaction speeds, transaction costs. When you're talking about Bitcoin as a store of value, there's things like stable coins that provide a more stable value. You can also stake stable coins for yield. So there's a lot more utility in the altcoin space for whatever you need than Bitcoin. Hence, making other coins potentially more viable as a form of investment, depending on what you want to use it for. How would you respond to that?
Well, being able to use an altcoin for some purpose, like I said with the sidechain point, is not necessarily means that in the long run the investment will succeed, right? Because you could introduce something new. This is like what Microsoft used to do all the time, where someone would come up with something new and Microsoft would look at it and just sort of copy it. I think it was called, I don't remember exactly what it's called. People are going to Google it, and it was something like embrace, extend, extinguish or something. But just because something has a new feature doesn't mean that the underlying investment will prevail. And the sidechains is directly, a lot of my maximalism does hinge on the sidechains concept. So in my view, the ways in which these alternative pieces of software have achieved more transaction throughput, sometimes more privacy. That is something that could be copied and emulated by Bitcoin.
Do Bitcoin maximalists have a fair value for the price of Bitcoin?
Well, I think the real way to do the valuation is just to, and this was done a long time ago by Hal Finney, and then done various other degrees by people in various levels of specificity. But what people really just do is they say, what's the value of all of the money in the entire world? And we'll divide that by the 21 million coins, and that would be the purchasing power equivalent of US, even though there would be no US dollars in that scenario, but that would be how much stuff you could buy with. And that's something like, estimates vary, but that's like between $10 and $20 million per coin. But then you say that's assuming that it prevails and destroys everything, which of course is not certain.
Even $1 million a coin, assuming 21 million Bitcoins, that implies a value of $21 trillion, which is roughly equivalent to the U.S. GDP right now. Obviously, by the time it reaches that, the U.S. GDP will be even higher. But
yes,
that's a
GDP,
large number.
When people bring up GDP, of course, it's hard because numbers are so big. There's no context for anything.
Right.
But GDP is something that has to do with time, so it has to do with a year. It's the value of everything produced in the United States in 1 year.
Sure.
So what's so special about a year, right? You could make it so that it would be 10 minutes, and then Bitcoin's current market capitalization would be higher than the gross world product in 10 minutes, or you could make it 100 years and it would be different. So, but I agree with the number is so big that you have no context. The only thing you have is the price per coin, I think.
Do you think Bitcoin is a replacement for the US dollar? People are talking about the US dollar's value being eroded away by inflation, amongst other variables, maybe the decline of the US empire, some people would argue. And so people are talking about a replacement for the dollar as a global reserve currency. Some people have speculated the yuan, some people have speculated Bitcoin. What's your thought?
Well, I definitely think that it's in the cards. I think that there is there's a long way to go, but I think you're designed for success, right? So you want it, in order for Bitcoin to succeed, it would have to be able to accommodate the transaction needs of everyone on the planet, and that would include the desire of people not to pay inflation taxes, the desire of people to not have their accounts frozen, the desire of people to have control and privacy over their own income and things like that. So, what gets it for me is I don't understand how the United States plans to run its long-run fiscal situation, really. We have this national debt that increases every year and it accelerates every year, and in general the pace of the acceleration also accelerates every year.
That's right.
And the political will to do anything about it seems to just have shrunk over my entire lifetime. I remember when it was a Republican primary debate topic, like how are we going to balance the budget or whatever, people used to talk about it, but no one talks about it. I just, have you heard anyone talk about that? People today, it's the problem that everyone is afraid it's the elephant in the room, So I don't understand where that road is going to end.
There's a lot of other people at the conference that think that Bitcoin is a solution to the economic problems that we're facing right now. I don't know if you share that view, but let's just back up a minute and talk about some of the economic problems that we're facing as a nation. Can you list a few that bothers you the most?
Well, I don't know if I have the right, specialization to answer a kind of question like that. I do think though that as a citizen, I'm owed some kind of explanation for what eventually with the national debt, it's the thing that everyone refuses to talk about. It's a mathematical fact that eventually the interest payments on the national debt will just, if the trend continues, will exceed the GDP of the entire country.
Yeah.
So what exactly is the plan when that happens?
Fair question.
I think that's a fair question. What's the answer to that question? Then the answer is going to be something like, we'll cut spending, but that doesn't seem like that's in the cards. Or we'll raise taxes, which also seems dubious because, and then it'll be like maybe economic growth will pick up. And
I've wondered this
these
myself.
These all seem very difficult.
With the advent of cryptocurrencies, you're essentially not you, but people in general, the economy, we're essentially creating more money supply. How would that impact inflation? Let's say all of a sudden, on top of U.S. dollars, I'm also transacting in Bitcoin or Ethereum or any other coin.
Well, one of the purposes of cryptocurrency is to just you could say avoid paying the inflation tax or whatever. The inflation tax is borne by all the people who hold dollars. If you have dollars in your back pocket, or if you have a job where you get paid a fixed amount of dollars per year or whatever, then you're paying the inflation tax. And why pay something if you don't have to? That is, when the Treasury spends money, it doesn't have that increases the money supply, that increases the rate of inflation. So.
Well, Paul, I know you're not a trader, but can you comment on the state of the price action we've been seeing? Some people are speculating that we're in another crypto winter. Recall that in 2017 we had a price high in December. It came back down. Bitcoin was trading around $4,000. Traded range bound for quite some time before it finally, found new momentum in 2020, late 2020. Are we seeing that now? Are we seeing stalling in the price growth for the next couple of years?
Well, who knows, right? I mean, I kind of believe in the efficient markets hypothesis, and I think that you take your fundamental value. So this is like this enormous potential of Bitcoin if it completes this project of being better money for everyone, which it's not certain that it will, and it's not certain that it will anytime soon. But so that's kind of like how I view these things. I have been around for a little while, and I don't know. You can never really tell. I mean, the crypto winter is only like 2 or 3 announcements of good news away from ending, and then when the price goes up, it tends to keep going up in Bitcoin because there's a lot of people like on the fence or people who are confused, and then when the price goes up, they think, I was right, this really was a good idea, and then they pile in or something. So there's much more momentum in Bitcoin than in anything else I've ever seen in my life.
Okay, that's a fair point. And do you think that the rise of altcoins in other areas like NFTs, with the rise of the metaverse, for example, Web3, a lot more utility in other places, do you think some of that will take momentum out of Bitcoin in terms of investment flows, capital flows, interest, and whatnot?
Yeah, I think that is the unfortunate state of affairs, is that Bitcoin had all these things long before Ethereum ever existed. There was Mastercoin, Omni, colored coins. There are all these things that were very, very old, and they were very, those were like NFTs on Bitcoin, like before Ethereum ever existed, like 2012, 2013, 2014. Right. Counterparty. So Bitcoin had a lot of things, and there has been a decline in what you might call assertiveness, or so people become very conservative in Bitcoin.
Well, Paul, finally, you're making a series of presentations here at the Bitcoin Miami conference, the largest crypto conference in the world. Tell us about some of the topics you're talking about. You already talked about sidechains, so
no, I will be talking on Friday. I have a panel on sidechains,
right.
And then tomorrow on Thursday, I'm talking about the soft fork, which is how Bitcoin. How the Bitcoin protocol moves from version to version. Yeah. So we upgrade the protocol through this technical technique, but it has a lot of curious features. So I'm doing a panel on that.
A couple months ago, Bitcoin had the Taproot upgrade.
Yes, that was a soft fork, yes.
Yeah, that was a soft fork. Now, are you an advocate of soft forks, or do you think that Bitcoin should be left alone and just layer 2's built on top of that?
Yeah, well, because of the institution of the sidechain, I think sidechains should replace soft forks. So we should soft fork to add sidechains and then not do anything anymore. I think it would be better if Bitcoin stopped changing at all, so that it could just be exactly what it is, and people could just they could write books about it, and they could write whatever, and there's one version of the software, and it's just like, it's like what long division is or something. It's like long division is just what it is, and I think that would be good because the sidechain can actually replace all soft forks and also all hard forks, which hard fork is even seen as not even possible in Bitcoin. But both of those are under the umbrella of the sidechain.
Development challenges of the sidechain, what are they?
It's very easy to add the port into Bitcoin, like the kind of interoperability feature into base layer 1 Bitcoin is, I think, very easy actually. It's then the development moves to the side. Most of the work, the code work, is moved up into the layer 2 sidechain piece of software. But we have a template that does all of that for everyone already. So the ideal thing is that either you fork this template, which is taking care of all the coins moving back and forth between pieces of software. Yeah. You take that template and then you just add whatever you want into there. And we have a different template that is sort of like a bridge, where you take an altcoin like Ethereum. You can run it in a kind of like a test mode, like a reg test mode, and this this software will take that software and kind of bridge between Bitcoin Core and that, and it will kind of be like a sort of zombie version of the altcoin. So it converts the altcoin into a sidechain. So that there's a lot of technical issues. I don't know how well anyone will understand what they are, but I think it's actually quite easy to turn an altcoin into a sidechain. So
okay, well, excellent thoughts, Paul. I appreciate your time.
Okay,
very informative.
Hey,
thank you. Thanks so much.
Thanks.
It'll survive. It's got
good.
through worse. Thank you for watching Kitco News. I'm David Lin. Stay tuned for more in Miami.
Kitco News special coverage of Bitcoin 2022 is brought to you by Coin Payments. Crypto payments made easy.